seemingly that is a huge problem. Blizzard announces, obviously, that they're now pushing stories across multiple expansions, and this seems to be because yesterday people said this, and now I see Vampak, you're saying the same thing. Is it going to make it harder for people to follow the story? Yes and no. It all comes down to execution. Once again, is it hard for people to follow the Final Fantasy story? No. If you really care about story, all you do is you play the game and you'll follow the story. It's really as simple as that. Because the game makes no excuses. You will play the story, otherwise you don't get to max level. It's as simple as that. Now, you're absolutely within your right to skip everything and just go to the end. They don't even advise that. They don't want you to do that. So I would say it boils down to a couple of things. The first is the intricacy of the story and the level to which they can grip people into the story, because you're gonna have to get people invested. You're starting to talk now about multi-expansion stories. This means that people are gonna spend quite a long time with those stories, and if those stories aren't interesting, if those stories aren't worth investing in, people will check out. It does definitely put a higher degree of onus or a higher degree of responsibility on the writers of World of Warcraft, because they're going to have to be on point with the design of their story. Otherwise, people are going to check out. Then there's the question of what happens if someone joins next expansion. They've obviously missed all of Dragonflight. Now they come in, next expansion. What the hell am I supposed to do now? This is where, again, the onus falls to Blizzard as a developing team. If you're going to have multi-expansion stories, you cannot allow people to skip expansions. You just can't. Not possible. It's not fucking doable. You have to make every single expansion mandatory. Now, I think that's exactly what Blizzard is doing. We see it already. What expansion are new players playing right now in World of Warcraft? You start brand new in World of Warcraft, you've never played. You start in Battle for Azeroth. You don't even start in Shadowlands. Dragonflight is the next story. When the expansion of the Dragonflight comes out, new players will start in Dragonflight. They will have to play through Dragonflight. And I do think that Blizzard is approaching the storytelling of Dragonflight in such a way that it will always be appropriate. So it doesn't matter if we're 4 expansions from now, players are still going to start in Dragonflight because they have to play the entirety of the storyline in order to catch up. Now, the one fear I have is that Blizzard goes, no, we're going to tell the story in 2 expansions. So what that means is, if Blizzard said, right, Dragonflight and the expansion of the Dragonflight is basically 1 expansion, but it is 2 in terms of a story. And then we finish all of the stories for Dragonflight and the next expansion in that time frame of 2 expansions. And then the expansion after that starts a brand new story. That to me would be a massive, massive mistake from Blizzard. They definitely shouldn't do that. They need to shift to evergreen content. I want to log on retail and queue for Wrath of the Lich King raid or Black Temple. This will bring the game back to life, I'm sure. There's a lot of things that Blizzard can do to bring the game back to life. This is one of those things. What new players don't start in vanilla anymore? Frag, no. As a new player, you haven't started in vanilla in a really, really, really long time. So don't worry about it. King Julian, check the fucking title. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Blizzard approaches this, because my opinion is that it should be approached as every expansion links up with all future expansions. So you might have storylines that already start in Dragonflight that will only finish 2 or 3 expansions from now. Can you imagine that? Imagine if there is storylines that starts in Dragonflight that only concludes in 14.3. How fucking cool would that be? When you have a story that you've been playing for the last 4 expansions, and you finally get to see the end of that story, you're like, oh my god, that was good. I've been waiting to see how the story is going to end, and it's finally ending. You know, I'm finally getting to see the final bits of the story. And then at that time, you already have so many other stories in the works as well that it's not like players are ever finishing the story. They're just finishing parts of the story and then moving into new parts of the story. That's kind of what I want to see from Blizzard, because I think that is the solution to everyone's questions and everyone's problems with this. You have to give people a reason to want to play through these things. And that means it starts with Dragonflight. And we already kind of know. Preach asked Ian, what about dragon riding? You know, will players be able to dragon ride? And apparently that is something they were thinking of. You know, they were saying, well, you already learned how to dragon ride. Why wouldn't you be able to dragon ride everywhere? Right? So it is possible that Dragonflight is being designed from the ground up to be the starting point of World of Warcraft. So they're making it so that it never falls out of fashion. Every single time you start a new character, you start in Dragonflight. And you play throughout Dragonflight into the next expansion, into the next expansion, into the next expansion, and you get your character up that way. Now, obviously, I think what they should do for people that are leveling alts, they should make the leveling experience a lot faster. So you should basically still, as an alt player, be able to choose wherever the fuck you want to start. Right? So as an alt player, you shouldn't be forced to play through all of those. But as a new player, you should be forced to start in Dragonflight and go throughout. Yeah, it's sort of like a soft World of Warcraft Realm Reborn. A soft Realm Reborn. Because it is technically not a Realm Reborn. Swanky Tiger, how you doing, brother? Technically, the story is just continuing, right? But it's not really just continuing. Because it is a new, fresh start. And that's what I'm really looking forward to.